Hello, Paul.
Clint, how you doing, man?
Yeah, good, mate. How are you?
I'm very well. Good to see you.
You too. It's nice to put faces to names and all of that, isn't it? Technology, it's fabulous.
It's a wonderful thing these days, and where would we be over the last 3 years if we didn't have it?
Oh man, yeah, you're right. Companies and corporations' work would have grinded to a halt, yeah, for a lot of people. So that's very interesting. Didn't help the musos much. We couldn't fire in gigs and performances via Zoom, although some people did, which was really cool.
Yeah,
Actually, I
it was
saw a bunch.
interesting, wasn't it? I saw there was quite a lot of bands who had virtual concerts where they'd set up and put a fair bit of money into production, and even with the camera gear and all of the recording equipment, and do live virtual streaming concerts, and they turned out quite well.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. A mate of mine was doing some live streaming off Facebook until they shut it down for copyright issues because he's throwing in a few covers. And I was like, oh man, you just can't win. It's like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, they're going to screw you any which way they can, mate. It's as simple as that. So how are you doing? How have you been keeping?
Yeah, good. I've been up and down. I had the nasty Rona around April. My daughter came over from WA, and I sent her back with it, and but I tested it, and I come back negative, so we thought we were all right. But then I've just been battling this seasonal flu, so now it's like gone from, everyone's like freaking out about corona to now we've relaxed it, no masks, people aren't sanitizing their hands, we're all in close proximity again, and now I've got this seasonal flu, and I'm just getting over it. I'll tell you what, it knocked me for 6, and I was like, bloody hell, that was worse than Rona. So
I guess because we sort of haven't been exposed to stuff over the last few years, it sort of has made it a lot more nasty when we have got it. I shot North Lane a couple of months ago, and it was the first gig that I'd shot since COVID. And wouldn't you know it, I picked it up at the North Lane gig. And so that knocked me around for a little bit. But yeah, it's good now to be back over it and back out shooting again and enjoying some live music for a change, because it's
I went to the North Lane gig with Sleep Token. That was, for me, I love Sleep Token. It was a religious experience for me, man. When they walked out to Alkaline, which is one of my favorite songs, I was having those moments that I'd forgotten about as a punter. When you go and see a band for the first time, I was getting goosebumps and chills, and I just couldn't control them. I just started moving and
it was
incredible. North Lane were great.
The photos that I got from those guys were just next level. They were, very photogenic. The lighting makes it really easy to get some good shots too. And I think they were certainly one of my favourite artists to shoot over the last couple of years. Well, anybody would have been over the last couple of years, but those guys are magnificent. Really, really good.
Very enigmatic.
Very much so. Speaking of which, the butterfly effect are back. You'll be. It's been such a long time coming, and I know it's probably been frustrating for you guys as well not to be able to get the music out there and get touring again on the back of the momentum that you started to get, I suppose, between 2017 and 2019 with some tours, a couple of single releases and that sort of thing. So you must be wrapped to finally get the new album out come September.
Yeah, mate. Yeah, it's been amazing. The journey was pretty wild, because when I floated that email back in 2017 and said, maybe we'll put the original lineup back together, so to speak. It was interesting because Curdy was kind of a bit tentative about doing new music. So after the tour, though, that Reformation tour in 2018, the success that we had off the back of that, he was more, he was a little bit more open to the idea of doing new music. So then we just started scouring the demo banks, all the hard drives that we had from way back, and we come up with some new tunes, started writing, got a good head of steam, and then decided to record it. We did it in little chunks here and there with different producers, different studios, which was pretty cool.
I was going to ask you about that. And actually, it's interesting that you say that you dug back through some old demos, because there's definitely some material on there that harks back to probably right through to the initial EP as well. So there's little bits and pieces that I can hear that are from Final Conversation
Good
King,
pickup.
Margot. I can hear a lot of different bits and pieces in all of this music. Was there a lot of those ideas that you drew from, or was there a lot of new material that you'd sort of been sitting on for quite a while as well?
Yeah, so there was so what we did, I don't know if we did it like consciously, whether it was sitting in the front of our minds, but there's like two songs that represent like each release from the EP. Like I really find So Tired and Kneel by Mouth would have sat on the EP if we had written them back then, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas like Visiting Hours would have sat right beside Worlds on Fire and Final Conversation of Kings to me.
Yeah.
But some people like getting Amargo vibes, and I'm like, I think it's because with those, it's interesting. So Tired and Kneel by Mouth were actually written brand new. They were brand new. There was no demo material for them. But Visiting Hours was written straight off the back of Final Conversation of Kings. So we were fresh in that, you know what I mean? And I remember having to fight to get Worlds on Fire on the album because the guys didn't really like it. It was a bit too twisty, too turny, took too long to build. And I still remember having to say to the guys, if Worlds on Fire doesn't go on the album, I'm quitting, man. I'm out of here. Because if we can't see eye to eye on that particular song, and it's such a song, it's got this grandiosity about it. Do you know what I mean? It builds and it turns. And to me, that was where I could see the band really finding a pocket and building into. And it's funny because me and Ben had a conversation just the other day where I was saying, I think the success of Visiting Hours and the fact that it had such a reaction is where we should be. That's what we should be playing to. That's our particular strength. So it's the Worlds on Fires, it's the Reaches, it's the, Visiting Hours. And let's be that band where it's a little more proggy, it's a little more thoughtful, it's a little darker, it's got more depth rather than being this bash out sort of hard rock band that we used to be.
More emotion
exactly.
as well. I definitely get those vibes 100%. Too from listening to that, like from Visiting Hours, and you talk about Worlds on Fire. That's the sort of stuff you talk about. Sleep Token giving you chills, but that is the sort of music that I hear from the Butterfly Effect that gives me chills, and that I see as being a more pure progression from some of the earlier stuff.
100%, man, you're spot on. So we've got two songs that sort of represent each release, if you like, and the other songs that are coming off the back of this were like when we released the album on the 2nd of September. I listened to it the other day in the kitchen, and I had a moment. You know, when you have those moments when you're listening to an album, you know what it's like, or when you look at one of your picks from a gig and you go, wow, I really captured something. And you did that. You know what I mean? And I listen to it, I'm like, I would like this album even if I wasn't singing on it. And I've always said Butterfly Effect's one of those bands, even if I wasn't in it, I would have gravitated towards it anyway. And I guess that has always been a thing. We make music that we love. Do you know what I mean? And if we're not loving it, how can we present it to you guys and say, well, we half-assed this one? And I guess that's what...
It really well live too, dude, too.
Yeah.
I think it comes across really well because you get a lot of light and shade. So rather than just being, as you say, balls out all the way through, you've got a lot of dynamic moments in there where you've got hard hitting stuff, but then you've got a lot of mood and melody as well, and it works really well live.
Oh, it's breaking up.
Have I got you?
Yeah, I'm back. It just broke. Sorry, I got to the part where you said balls out.
Yeah, so you've got a lot of light and shade, a lot of dynamic kind of feel live, and it just makes for a really interesting gig. You can play around with it with lighting and effects and that sort of stuff, but it gives a good variety of music.
Absolutely, yeah. So I guess coming back to the original question from the demo, we did draw a fair bit from those older demos, but there were a few brand new ones on there as well.
So what was the catalyst for you or for the band in general to reform again when you did?
Wow, man, that's interesting. I think like maturing, just letting go of certain things that had hurt me personally in the past, and seeing Kurt that night at the Dead Letter Circus, their acoustic gig in Brisbane in 2017. And we just had a great chat, and he was telling me about his kids and, you know, how he'd been working and his sort of, not regret, but there was that sense of, you know what I mean? It was like, man, you know, I hope you're doing well. And, you know, I said to him, look, I hope you're doing well. I don't hold anything against anyone anymore. We kind of let that go. And in that moment, I just thought to myself, is there a chance for us to sort of build a bridge, let go of some crap and move forward? I thought, you know what, I'm just going to throw out the email and just see how we go. Plus, I wasn't doing anything. I was playing covers in pubs around Brisbane, sitting in the corner being slobbered on by drunks, people asking for horses and bloody K-Sen every 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And I thought there's got to be a better way. And if I can put the band back together and relive the glory days for 5 more minutes, do you know what I mean? It's almost that moment. If you could sit down and talk with someone that you loved or someone that you've lost, do you know what I mean? For 5 more minutes, what would you say? What would you do? Do you know what I mean? And in that moment, I thought, I'm just going to throw it out there. I mean, it's not as, but you know what I'm saying?
But as it turns out, it's really, from a fan perspective, it's like you've picked up where you left off and you're just running with it again. Because I think when Final Conversation of Kings came out, it was, I suppose, the band was on that upward trajectory. You were getting a lot of interest overseas. There was a fan base here that was massive. And all of a sudden, obviously, the rug was pulled out. And I feel, were you worried about whether or not the fan base was still going to be there and come on board for the reformation?
100%, man. We actually had really grave doubts. Curdy was probably more vocal about it than any of us. I was trying to put on the brave facade and say, it's going to be fine. The people are going to be there. But we had thought that we would have lost at least 50 to 75% of the crowd base. And when we launched that tour and we announced it, and the Brisbane show sold out in under 10 minutes, there was messages flying backwards and forwards between us because I was in bed. I'd had a big night the night before and I was asleep. And next minute, my phone is going off and I just woke up to these text messages saying, "Congrats, boys. That's awesome. Do we put on another show?" And people saying, fuck yeah, let's go. And then the second show sold out in a couple of hours. And then we put on a third show at the Triff and the rest of the tour sold out, within days. And we were months out. From it. So that was huge. And I think in that moment, everyone breathed a great sigh of relief. And we all thought, wow, there's still a great fan base still there. But not only that, when we got out on the road, people were saying to us it was like a time capsule for them, like a time machine. They got transported back to that, that amazing summer of their graduating life when they finished year 12, they turned 18, they go see all these bands and it was amazing. We had a guy that brought his son along, which was mind-blowing to me because I was like, holy crap. He said, man, I come and see you in 2000. I was right there. First time you played in Melbourne or second time, whatever. This is my son. He just turned 18 and now I'm bringing him. And it was, well, in that moment, we felt very old, I must say. But the generational gap had been bridged between like the old and the new. And now we're getting younger people coming and saying, I just heard about your band and I love it. And it's amazing.
I always thought it was the Iron Maidens and Kiss and Metallica who had that thing with the generational, hand down the baton to the next generation sort of thing. But, as you say, there's a new generation of Butterfly Effect bands, and I'm not surprised because it's timeless kind of music that I think the band plays, and I don't think you can necessarily put a decade to it.
Yeah. I agree, man. I feel pretty good. We've got about 5 or 6 songs in the bank that are coming behind this one that are already written. So,
beautiful.
Because I said to the guys, I'm like, we have to make sure that we've got enough in the bank behind this album so that if we need to write and release really quickly, we can. So we've talked about an EP, so there is that option. Other than that, we can keep pushing further and another album. So there's definitely another release coming in behind this one. So there will be more new music. And I'm really excited about some of the other tracks because they've come from the demo sessions from the same batch as Visiting Hours. So watch out for those ones. Yeah, so it's going to be good. And also, we found a pocket, so I think we're going to be all right.
I think you have. I was going to say, the album is extraordinary. I think it's really what the Butterfly Effect fans would be expecting, would be wanting to hear. I, for one, was, just wrapped that was the vein that you went down. One thing, nearly by mouth, listening to that, I get some real heavy Marilyn Manson vibes.
Yeah, right. It's interesting. I went for a real Refused sort of vibe on that one because I could hear that, that new noise sort of vibe. That's what I was picking up. But also with Kneel by Mouth, I was watching my teenage sons sort of navigate pitfalls, if you like, of modern communication via social media platforms. And I was just sitting there, I was marveling at it because I'm a pretty private sort of person.
Yeah.
And I just watched it just felt like the decaying of how we communicate. And I thought I have to write about that. And So Tired came straight out of just the frustration of being locked down. And I mean, in Queensland, we were nowhere near what was happening in Victoria, but watching my fellow countrymen and women like at each other on socials and on the street and people like, if you coughed or sneezed in public looking at you like you're a leper, it fucking blew my mind, man. And I just sat there going, wow, and the toilet paper wars. And I thought, if this is what happens when there's a fear of a germ, what's going to happen if there is a serious fucking societal problem arise? We're fucked because people will kill each other in the streets.
That's right.
So they're my two like social commentaries, So Tired and Kneel by Mouth. Whereas the rest of the album sort of turns into more of, like I get introspective and I get like to have a look at myself and start breaking some stuff apart. And some good stuff coming.
But mate, thanks so much for the interview. It's a pleasure to chat with you. And all the best for the tour and the release for the album. It's going to be sensational.
Thanks, Paul. Cheers, mate. Have a great day.
Thanks, mate.
See you, buddy. Bye.
Yeah.